Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 2 of First and 10. I guess it should be technically second and 10 here, but week 2 of our weekly football show, breaking down everything that happened in the National Football League. I have, of course, joined with my co-pilot here, Matt Etchier. So football's back, eh? Doesn't that just feel great?
It's so exciting. Last Sunday, I was jacked up.
Jacked up is basically the term you'll be hearing a lot here, because I was jacked up to the fact that the National Football League is back and in full force. Last week we did break down the Cowboy-Giant game, which may not have gone your way, but it was a pretty exciting game for the first week of the season. I don't think it was as exciting as a lot of people thought, but if you're a fan of them Cowboys, how about them Cowboys, I have to say.
They look good.
They did look good. For a while, they looked like the Cowboys of old when Tony threw the interception and, it was brought back to the goal line. I basically thought, well, Eli and them will just punch it in, but Cowboys got a defense this year. Did that really surprise you?
It did, actually. I didn't think they made that many changes, but, I guess everyone's healthy. That makes a big difference, right? So, yeah, they definitely put pressure on Eli. He was not comfortable in there. However, I got to give it to Tony. I was like, fourth quarter, he'll cough it up, and Giants will come back and win. But, no, he was clutch. He did well.
Exactly. In the second half, I believe he threw 3 touchdowns, especially the one that was a beautiful touchdown to Miles Austin. And his main man week 1 was Kevin Ogletree.
How many people had him in fantasy?
I don't think anyone had him in fantasy. I don't think the Giants knew he was that good, considering, the Giants had a look at him in the offseason and didn't sign the dotted line with Kevin Ogletree. The Cowboys do, and hee-haw, they rode all over the G-men in that one. But first week, I should say, was very, very interesting. We had some little upsets with the Packers losing to the 49ers. I don't know if you can consider it really an upset with how much expectations are on the 49ers. Green Bay made it very interesting towards the end with Aaron Rodgers making the comeback, but that 49er D stood strong, and nice to see the 49ers look like the 49ers from yesteryear, and they really look like to be a strong contender this year.
Definitely. Even before last week, a lot of people were picking them to be Super Bowl champions. But definitely last week going up against Green Bay, another team who people are picking to be Super Bowl champions. And
in Lambeau, too.
Exactly. In Green Bay, they weren't necessarily dominant, but they put their plan together and executed it extremely well. And the Packers just didn't have an answer for that offense.
And that was kind of what, I guess, really surprised me, just how well that offense was working. I don't think Smith threw the ball as well as he'd like, but really the bread and butter of this 49er team is the run game. Frank Gore was making third down conversions when they needed to keep moving the clock. And to me, really the pendulum that swung the game totally to the 49ers was the David Akers 63-yard field goal. Who saw that coming? Man, you should probably sign David Akers. The Karate Man delivered with a big kick there. And I think the best part of that was the Jim Harbaugh highlight of him reacting. It's like the 49ers won the Super Bowl, even though his first halftime of the season, folks. But big ups to the 49ers. They had a big game on the road against the Packers, and they got another big game against an NFC North team this coming week, this Sunday, against the Detroit Lions in the infamous grudge match from a handshake. Yes, it sounds like a crappy wrestling angle. No, this happened last year in the National Football League, and Jim Schwartz got mad. I don't know why, and apparently to Lions fans, Jim Harbaugh is a douche for this, and really they need to look at their coach in the mirror on that one. But I'm excited for that game. I guess before we move over to week 2 fully, the real big story for me was the Washington Redskins quarterback, RG3. I know you told me that you didn't think he was going to play that well, and if you pick between the 2 rookie quarterbacks, he had Luck being the better one, and Luck threw 4 picks and RG3 threw 3 TDs. What do you really contribute to RG3 doing so well week 1 against New Orleans in the Superdome?
I'll admit, he surprised me 100%. I did not think he was going to perform like that, especially against Saints in New Orleans. That was amazing. Incredible performance by him. I have to admit, I was watching a different game, started seeing some of those highlights, and I had to turn it on. I'm sure a lot of other people were the same way. Had to turn it on, had to see that kid do what he can do. He's changed me a little bit. I'm still a little skeptical, I think, in the long run. Luck will turn out to be the better quarterback, but RG3's got skills.
He definitely does have skills. I mean, he was really showcasing the arm. Not so much his feet, which I think was nice to see. I mean, he can definitely scramble when he needs to do that and basically be, his own version of Cam Newton. But I think to me the big thing for RG3's success is two things. One, I mean, he's really got the better team to work with than Indianapolis. Indianapolis, unfortunately, it'll be some time. It's really the Colts basically just pushing the reset button on what they have plans for. And the second thing is really, he wasn't able to make turnovers. He threw 0 turnovers, actually, which is really impressive. But the Saints defense didn't have a lot of the key guys in there. They didn't have Vilma in there, even though he won his appeal over the NFL. They didn't have those guys in there. And Washington's defense stepped up and proved how big, takeaways are in this league. I mean, you keep saying it, you think it's a cliche, but when you look at a lot of the results, especially that one, the Redskins picked off Drew Brees 2 times in that game, and that's something we really don't see from Drew Brees, throwing a couple interceptions, and let alone against a Washington Redskin defense where they're not maybe the greatest bunch of guys, or no, I don't know any superstars on that team. I think London Fletcher's still out there, but hey, they put on their lunch buckets, and they went out there, got the job done, and a great showing for RG3 to really show how exciting the NFL can be for certain rookies, and really setting a new benchmark for a rookie quarterback to debut in the NFL. Last year was Cam, but this year it's Robert Griffin III. But yeah, it's great to have football back, and now the beautiful thing about the National Football League this year is Thursday night football is an every week thing. Yeah. It's not Thanksgiving, at least not to my watch in the United States of America, but this is a great gift that they've given us. And what better way for them to start off the season with these two bad boys right here, two of the greatest rivals, really the Hatfields and the McCoys of football, the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers. Now, like we had said, we already talked about Green Bay. I mean, they did pull it together a little bit offensively towards the end of the game against the 49ers, but the 49ers D may have just figured out the blueprint for this team. Run the ball, because the defense still hasn't improved anything. They still could be the worst defense in the NFL. A great offense, but a terrible defense. And as we know, cliche, defense does win championships. With the Bears, I don't know how you feel about them. I mean, I was impressed with them getting a big victory against Indianapolis, but like I said earlier, it's Indianapolis. I can't put too much on that. And if the Bears want to be for real, they got to go and get the big victory in Lambeau against them Packers. What are your thoughts on that game, Matt?
I think I'll just say it right off top. I think Green Bay is going to win it.
Okay.
For sure. I mean, they have home field. I just think their offenses will be too dominant. Cutler looked pretty good in first week, but I still don't think that they're there yet. Like you said, it's hard to tell considering Green Bay lost to a good team. And Chicago won't beat a not-so-good team. I think it's going to be a good matchup, though, with Chicago priding themselves on their defense, Green Bay priding themselves on offense. It's going to be... I don't know how close it's going to be, but it'll be an interesting matchup. I
expect this game to actually be really close. It could come down for the last drive once again for either team. I don't know which team will have the ball when it counts, but... I'm going to lean with Chicago, and I'm going to stick with I did pick the Bears to win the Super Bowl this year, so you folks in Chi-Town, you should give me some props here. But I say this because if the 49ers were able to really, really run the ball with Gore, imagine how well the Bears are going to run the ball when they have not just Forte, but their backup, Michael Bush, when they can put him in there on third down situations. And Michael Bush, for those of you who don't know, really did a fantastic job with the Oakland Raiders for many a season. So right there's that. Plus, I still think the passing threat with Cutler and Marshall is going to be just a very dangerous connection there for the Bears. As well, Aaron Rodgers may not have Greg Jennings in this game, and Greg Jennings is huge for this offense. So right there, I'm leaning with the Bears in this one, and I don't know how... I think it will be close. I do think that maybe the Packers D has to step up, or they really do have to step up, but I just don't see them stopping that run game when it's needed, and the passing game from Cutler and them really scares me, actually, at this point in time. So I'm going to take the Bears. You're going to take the Packers. I think that makes it a very interesting thing. So next week we'll see who was right, who was wrong, and who will owe someone a beer after the game. But, I mean, that's just not all for week 2. There's a couple interesting matchups. I mean, certain people may say week 2 may not be that exciting. I think week 2 is pretty exciting. It's certain aspects of the game. So considering just how week one varies from week two with certain teams. Like the first matchup is the Giants and the Buccaneers, which, may not be super interesting, but, your boys now got a rebound against a pretty young, upstart, resilient Tampa Bay Buccaneer team.
Yeah, well, one thing, it's not that bad to start 0-2 as when they won the Super Bowl previously. They did start the season 0-2.
They did.
Yeah, but, the Bucs, they looked all right last week. They do have me worried with my G-men. I'm hoping, though, that Giants can pull it out. I think Dallas surprised them a bit last week. Super Bowl hangover, right? I think they thought Giants thought that they were better than they were. I think a lot of people thought they were better than they were. So
as well, I think the Cowboys did have a point to prove against them because it was the Cowboys that got knocked out by those Giants, and the Cowboys did lose 2 games to the Giants last year. But yeah, continue with your point here.
Definitely. But I agree. It's a bounce back game for the Giants. They need to show the league and all their fans that they can beat these teams and that they can win. I think they'll beat Tampa Bay, but I think it'll be close. Tampa Bay's smelling blood, I think.
Tampa Bay is doing something. They got this youth movement in there, which I think is a big thing. Josh Freeman, I think, is a solid quarterback. People may underrated him from how the Bucs finished off last year. Let's forget, folks, they did start off really well last year. They just had a meltdown. Why? Not sure, but they did. I like this team a lot, Tampa Bay. I was on the fence to go with them against the Panthers. It was in Tampa, so that could have been a turning factor for me picking them, for why I should have picked them. But Josh Freeman, like I said, good quarterback. He's got a good target in Vincent Jackson. Plus LeGarrette Blount, who we have to give the Tampa Bay Buccaneers credit from the Raheem Morris days, from turning a pretty feisty quarterback into a heck of an NFL running back. He was doing his hurdles last week over certain Panther players. I think the Bucs actually do make this close. I think the Bucs defense is pretty solid. Not like the world's greatest, but a solid D that can give Eli and the Giants a bit fits. But I would say the Giants don't go down 2 games at home against, a real upstart team. And really, if they go down, it's going to be that negative talk all over again, which could feed the Giants after all. It seems to feed them to suck and all this negative stuff, and they turn it around. But I just don't see them losing this early to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The NFC South, though, does have another interesting game, and the Saints and the Panthers, both teams are now 0-1. It's going to be a big bounce-back game for both teams. It's a home opener here for the Panthers. What you saying about this one, considering how the Saints D looked last week?
It's interesting because I would rank RG3 to being a very similar quarterback to Cam Newton. And, they couldn't stop RG3 last week, so they're going to have to figure out at some point during practice this week how to stop those types of quarterbacks. Cam Newton could pick them apart again. They're at home. The Panthers are at home.
Yep.
And so we'll see. I think Drew Brees is going to have a much better game than he did. A little bit of rust on him, I think. But at the same time, a lot of people, I think, were saying that without Sean Payton, the team wouldn't be affected that much. Last week, now there's a lot of doubters. This week, it's just going to continue that. We're going to see if the Saints offense can be a powerhouse without Sean Payton, and if Drew Brees can really step up and lead them that way. But I'm going to go with the Saints, even though it is in Carolina. I don't think they're going to lose 2 times. They're just too good of a team. I
agree with you. I'm going to go with the Saints as well. I just think Cam did look a little erratic out there at times against the Buccaneers. He, like Aaron Rodgers, pulled it together late, but the coaching staff made a weird decision in taking a field goal instead of a crucial drive, instead of going for a touchdown when they needed it, which I thought was a pretty chicken call. I understand it's the first game or something like that, but going down 0-1, with your shield up instead of just cowarding out, I don't like that. But
you play to win the game.
Exactly, play to win the game.
Yeah.
I think the Saints do bounce back. The Panthers don't have a solid defense. The Redskins had a better defense than we all thought they had. So I think Drew Brees and Jimmy Graham can get the job done here against the Panthers. There's another interesting game here for week 2 that I think a lot of the lines in Vegas are are baffling me. I don't understand this. The Baltimore Ravens will take on the Philadelphia Eagles, and word on the street that I've heard is that the Philadelphia Eagles are favored in this game. And I'm going to ask how. Like, how are they favored? Michael Vick threw 4 interceptions against a crappy Cleveland Brown defense.
Yeah.
How is Michael Vick going to play well against one of the best defenses in the league, easily top 3 defense in the Baltimore Ravens? Who is putting these lines together? Do they watch football, or, did they just play Madden? Did Madden sim this game or something? The Eagles need to, change the whole dynamic here. Vic doesn't have his number 1 receiver, potentially. Jeremy Maclin is hurt. So, McCoy may have to run the football a lot. Mike Vick may have to run the football a lot. Andy Reid may have to run the football a lot. I don't know what he's going to have to do, but as you can tell, I'm really taking Baltimore in this one. Baltimore looked absolutely scary week 1 against Cincinnati Bengals.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Cincy's a good team.
Exactly, and Cincinnati is a team that I think could at least finish second place in that division this year, considering I don't think Pittsburgh has enough what it takes. And Cincinnati's also in that young youth movement. But Baltimore is honestly, when you look at them right now, a step above everyone in that division. How do you see this one going down? Do we see Flacco keep airing it out?
Yeah, that offense was unstoppable.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching, and I'm not a huge Ravens fan. I've never really had that much connection towards them, but I was absolutely amazed and in awe watching them. It was a pleasure. That offense was incredible, and the defense just hasn't lost anything. I don't know how, if you take last week's matchups with the Ravens beating a pretty good Bengals team and then a Philly almost losing to a pretty crappy Browns team, it's got to be Ravens. Everyone's got to be picking Ravens. The only thing I can see with Philly is, I guess, Philly's at home, but I just think both sides of the ball, offense and defense, Ravens have Philly covered easily. Maybe they'll surprise us, but I don't think so.
In fairness, I can say the Eagles also did have 4 takeaways, but we have to remember that's a rookie quarterback, Brandon Weeden, out there. He's going to get shell-shocked.
He almost got captured by the flag.
Exactly. The American flag almost gobbled him up. The Eagles' defense gobbled him up. He had a lot on his mind at that point in time, but Joe Flacco's not going to be like that. This could be maybe a tightly defensive affair, but just from what I've seen so far from Baltimore, I expect lots of points, lots of numbers, and they're going to make it rain out there.
Yeah.
But when you move down the line here, this is an interesting game to me. I don't know to you if it is, but the Oakland Raiders and the Miami Dolphins. This may be the only time we really talk about a Miami Dolphin game on this show. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is Oakland didn't get the job done against San Diego. Probably you, and a lot of folks out there in video land overrated this Oakland Raider team, potentially, maybe. And it's maybe not fair to say after 1 week, but the Raiders looked terrible for a while out there in the field. Their offense wasn't clicking. Now, they clicked like a lot of the teams towards the end. They did score a touchdown and a 2-point conversion and make it interesting against San Diego. The Raiders' D, I will say, stepped up when the offense and special teams didn't give the Raiders the breaks. But the defense did step up, forcing San Diego to kick field goals instead of taking the touchdowns in there. But the reason this game interests me so much is the Oakland Raiders have not won in Miami since 2007. They're taking their talents to South Beach this week. How do you see this one going? Will Oakland bounce back, and will Miami bounce? I'm not even going to say bounce. Will they bounce with, at least they know where the stadium is? That's something I can say positive about the Dolphins.
No. I think Raiders are going to win.
Okay.
That's a statistic. What that tells me is that the Raiders are due now to win in Miami. This is a completely different Raiders team than it has been in years past. They finally have a proven quarterback in Carson Palmer. Yes, he played for them last year, but he didn't start the season with them. It took their offense a little bit to get going in the game on Monday, but I just think he's too good, and his receivers are too good. They're going to click, and I don't really think Miami will have much for them. This Miami team, it is still the NFL. Anyone can lose and anyone can win any given week, but and I've said this about some other teams still, but I think the Raiders are just too good of a team to go down 0-2, especially to Miami Dolphins team, no matter where it is.
The only thing I could potentially say positive for the Miami Dolphins is maybe Marcus Thigpen, one of the ex-Hamilton Tiger Cats, takes a couple balls to the house. But I mean, that's the only thing positive I can really say about Miami. And then I guess moving to the big Sunday night game. Now there's a couple interesting games as well. I think the Redskins-Rams game's a little interesting, but as the Rams did look really good against the Detroit Lions. But I don't know that one. I lean a little Washington just from what I saw RG3 do in the Dome last week, and he's in a Dome again. So I like him there. But this is the big one on Sunday night. Like we said, the rematch from the handshake.
That's right.
The handshake of doom. The Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers. This one, a lot of people are making a big deal. I don't think it's going to be as close as a lot of people are making it because the Lions' offense didn't look that good at all. Stafford threw 3 picks against the St. Louis Rams last week. And really, Alex Smith played a very solid game at quarterback as well. He has a lot of weapons out there, Manningham, Randy Moss, who a lot of people may say he's past his prime, but a motivated Randy Moss is a scary Randy Moss.
Yeah.
And Frank Gore and their defense really scares me. So if you're throwing 3 picks against a 10 to 15 ranked defense in the NFL, how's it going to be when you're throwing to the 49er defense? So I really like San Francisco, plus it's at Candlestick. I really like the 49ers this year. This is one they have to win, in my opinion, if they continue on to prove that they are Super Bowl bound, or at least NFC Championship game bound. Do you agree with me on this one, or are you going to pull an upset and go with the Detroit Lions?
I'm not going to pull an upset, but I think it's going to be close.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I would say I'm most excited for when the clock says 0 and the 2 coaches meet. I just want to see what happens there. But but no, I think Detroit, they didn't show what they had last week. A little bit of rust at the beginning of the season. But I think they're better than what they are. They're a team that's going to go to the playoffs this year.
Really? You think that?
So.
You think Detroit
I do.
will? Okay.
Even after the first week. They have a good offense. Definitely Stafford has to be better than he was, and I think he will be. He has weapons, and their defense will be better. Against the 49ers, they're a good team, as we saw last week. I mean, beating Green Bay, that's quite the feat. I think Lions' defense is better than Green Bay's defense, though. So we'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I would say maybe even decided by a field goal, but I think 49ers are the better team, and so if I have to pick someone, I'll pick the 49ers.
You pick the 49ers by a field goal? You expect David Akers to send another missile?
Maybe a 64-yarder this time.
Maybe world record. Maybe anyone that can get him signed by the EPL, because I know Arsenal could use some goal scorers like that. But yeah, that's going to be a big matchup. I'm excited. I thought last week's Sunday night game was just fantastic with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Denver Broncos. Which, of course, moving on to the Denver Broncos, they, of course, meet on Monday night against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, they're no longer the Dirty Bird Atlanta Falcons. This is a brand new Atlanta Falcon team where a lot of people are picking them potentially to win the NFC South just because of, Tampa Bay and Carolina are still molding themselves, and the Saints had all that nonsense in the offseason, so they may not be clicking on all cylinders as much. So this really could be Atlanta Falcons' time. However, after seeing what Peyton Manning looked like last week against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the man has lost a step. I mean, this man, you may have to actually physically remove body parts from to stop playing good. Because this neck surgery, I mean, it may have just made him even more of a robot than he is. Because he was out there, he was like a heat-seeking, missile-hitting guys. I mean, the Steelers did a good job in that game of keeping him on the bench. But it didn't matter because he went 2 plays 80 yards down the field for a touchdown for Denver. As well, as we've been on the whole positive side of defense, Denver's defense was great last year. But the pickup of Tracy Porter, I think, was a huge pickup for this team. Yeah. He showed up and was proved why he was worth all that money with that pick 6, which basically sealed the win for the Denver Broncos. What are you feeling about this one? Do you like Atlanta? Even though it's at home for Atlanta, which I think is a big factor for them, do you think Falcons continue to prove that they're better than what everyone really thinks they can be? Or is Denver still work hard and get the victory?
Last week, Atlanta they were amazing. Their offense, they just drove down the field. Now, given it was against KC, but KC's defense isn't that bad.
Exactly.
Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Holy crap. I cannot believe those two connected just so often. It was incredible. If you can stop Julio Jones, I guess, if you can stop that connection, you get a big edge. But I think I do think Atlanta's going to win this game. They are at home.
Okay.
Peyton Manning, amazing last week. It was, once again, a pleasure to watch him. Glad he's back. Glad he's okay. He was against a team that he's pretty familiar with, though, with the Pittsburgh Steelers when he was playing in Indy. He would play them a lot in the playoffs. And so the thing with Peyton Manning, he's so good at audibling and knowing where the pressure is coming from. We'll see how much film study he can do with Atlanta. And if he can call those audibles and stuff, he's going to make it a really good game, maybe win. But I'm going to have to take Atlanta for this one.
You're taking Atlanta, and I do find that interesting. I don't know. I'm on the fence with Atlanta. Based on last year, when the Eagles came to Atlanta week 2, I was all, Eagles are just Vic with the dream team, and they played awful, and then Atlanta got the job done at home. So I'm leaning Atlanta in the home aspect. I do like Atlanta at home. I think the Georgia Dome is a very tough place to play, especially when they're an exciting team. That's a loud crowd. It's going to be tough to play there. But the reason I may lean with Denver in this one is, to me, Atlanta did improve their defense. They picked up Asante Samuel and stuff. But I think the big thing for me is they may have lost Brent Grimes for the rest of the year. Now, Brent Grimes isn't a household name, but he's got the franchise tag. And now he's out for the year. And to me, that was a huge factor for the Falcons out there with the cornerback position, as you had Grimes and Samuel on both sides of the ball, basically making it, for teams like Cleveland when they play them, downright impossible to pass against them. But now Grimes is gone, and even tougher, good, strong quarterbacks in the NFL. But now with Grimes gone, it's going to have to be a lot on that front four to get pressure on Peyton, and I don't know if they can get that much pressure on him. They did look okay against the Kansas City Chiefs, but Kansas City, they're on a rebuilding process in their own way, so I don't know how I can really say that. However, Kansas City did put 28 points up against Atlanta towards the end, so that would worry me a little bit. But I guess I have to go with Denver. I'm just too impressed with what Peyton did. That defense looks just as good, even better than what they did last year. Peyton at the helm, and Willis McGahee's been running the ball really, really well. So I'm going to lean with Denver in this one. Really, I'm excited to see what Denver can do. Atlanta, if they win this game, I may buy into the for real thing, but it's just been too much of the same for me the past couple seasons where they're for real and then they blow it and then they get knocked out in the first round of the playoffs pretty unconvincingly. So I really like Denver in this one. So that's going to be it for this week's portion of the show. Really, I'll be excited because we'll be back here before you know it, breaking down next Thursday's game and going over what happened in week 2 of the National Football League. But man, it's great to have football back, isn't it?
Loving it.
Just loving it. I'm like a kid at the candy store every Sunday,
God.
I can't get enough of it. But really, that's it for this show. We're out. Peace.